Told you that was awkward, didn't I? Welcome back, everybody. Well, I don't even know how we're going to get through this interview. I'm so excited about it. So we decided to do 2 interviews. My guests are part of a trio called Stringendi. Stringendi, right? Good, I got it right. So joining me today are John Charles, who plays guitar, Demetria, who plays cello, and Tanya, who plays violin. Great combination, wonderful combination of instruments. So in case you're wondering why are they here, well, I got to give you the background. The background is that Laura from the Dance Museum was here for an interview, you might recall, and was talking about this wonderful performance that's coming up at the Dance Museum at the end of February. I asked her who the musicians were, she told me about the trio, and then told me the music that they were going to be playing, which is the Beatles. So it's not very often that you come across classically trained musicians as talented as these people are, who are paying respect and tribute to probably the most popular, iconic rock band in the history of the world, the Beatles. So, you know what, Tanya, I'm going to start with you.
Sure.
You play violin?
Yes.
Tell me about playing the violin.
I love to play the violin. The violin is the human voice. The violin has so much nuance and beauty to it. I've always wanted to play the violin. I started to play the violin when I was 3 years old. Wow. And I remember when before I played the violin, I couldn't wait to start. So it's something I wanted to do from birth.
That's right. You hear that frequently from musicians who are so dedicated. You know, it isn't that you chose the instrument, it chose you.
It definitely chose me.
I love that phrase, by the way.
Thank you.
Demetria, the cello. Not only is it an absolutely amazing instrument, but also one that George Martin, the producer of the Beatles, it was his favorite instrument. And if you listen to many of their orchestrated pieces, the cello is the featured instrument. Tell me about the cello.
Oh, it's true. I remember as a kid just listening to Eleanor Rigby and trying to reproduce that cello line and just being so inspired by that. And the cello is, I feel it in my soul. Like every time I pick it up, I feel the resonance of the instrument with my body, and I can hear it in every song that I listen to, and especially in the Beatles. And I've always loved it since I was 4th grade when I was introduced to it. So, and I'm always drawn back to it all the time.
Yes, that's right. It's the first thing you want to do is pick it up and play it, right? Wonderful comments. I think it was Yo-Yo Ma, or it might have been George Martin who said that they loved playing the cello so much. Not so much also for the notes, but because of the way he held the instrument close to me, felt the vibrations of the instrument throughout his whole body.
You can feel it.
Yes,
it's amazing.
Really, that's pretty powerful stuff. So John Charles, that leaves you. You got these 2 crazy ladies playing violin and cello. You're the guitarist.
I'm the guitarist.
That's right. So tell me, before we went on air, John Charles and I were comparing notes on guitars. We both like to play the same kind of guitar, nylon string guitar. So for our viewers, tell us, why do you play a nylon?
Well, the tone, and I like to control the tone with my fingers. I don't care too much for the electronics. Yes. A lot of times they have all the different pedals, which is fine, but I love to control the tone with my fingers, and I can change it in an instant, in 1 second, whether I want this type of tone, I want this type of shade of color on the instrument, and the instrument is just so versatile with the nylon strings. That's why I like it.
Yeah, true. We were comparing notes, as I said before we went on air. That's really true. One thing I hesitated, didn't say at the beginning of the interview, is that we had a little miscommunication. Classic setup with musicians. They forgot their instruments, or they didn't know they were supposed to bring their instruments. Who knows where this one
and
was.
We actually walked in here and all said, it feels so weird to not have our instruments. Like, we're always carrying them. So it did feel like awkward. We felt like something was missing.
Well, it was. So we are having them back next week to perform some of, or a song that you will be performing at the performance. Let's talk about the performance at the Dance Museum, February 27th, correct?
Correct.
This performance will have no trouble selling out, in case any of you want to know. So if you're interested in purchasing tickets, you should purchase tickets. Why the Beatles? John, I'll start with you, John Charles.
I love the Beatles because they were just so unique. They were, in my opinion, one of the best groups ever. And I love the way they write their music, the different time signature. You could be playing in 4, next thing you're playing in 3/8, next thing you're playing in a 5/8 in the same music, which I found was
Seamless.
great. Yes.
And seamless.
And
by the
yes,
way.
it's seamless. You don't even know it.
That's right.
Which is so great.
That's right. Well, you know, if they're so good at doing that, and it is seamless, then that's an emotional pull. It pulls you through and changes your feeling and your mood about the song and whatever. So when the three of you got together, you'd known each other from playing maybe in weddings or something like that, correct? Demetria, tell me what happened when you got together.
Well, we had known each other from various different events, and we said, we always would say, let's get together and play together. And so finally, we picked a date, and it was like we started playing, and it was instant. It was magic. It just everybody. We just came together, and we were like, wow, we got to do this. We've got to come up with a name. We got to get out there and play because we sound great.
That's wonderful. The first time you got together, you even recorded, right? Didn't you tell me that,
We
Tanya?
did. You know something? We were inspired by each other's sound, and we were
Yes.
inspired by what each of us had to contribute, and it was unprecedented. There was no premeditated forming of a group. Actually, we were just three people that got along that decided to meet and jam, and we had some standards that we all knew, and it was magic.
It's magic. You know, any of you that play a musical instrument, or certainly those that you listen, maybe more intently than others, recognize that when musicians do collaborate, it's not only the sound of your individual instruments, it's the sound that you collectively create. The harmonics are different. You know, just the way the song moves is different.
It's also the person you are, that you bring, and the three of us, we just meld like that. You know,
That's right.
it's
Chemistry.
your chemistry, your instrument, and how you play it, and then together when it comes together, it's hard to explain.
I
It
know
really
it's hard to
is.
explain. Well, actually, the viewers will get a good sample of what you mean. You don't have to explain it.
Right.
You have to show it to them. It's just so interesting to talk to the three of you and get the sense of chemistry that you have, and why you picked the Beatles, who had unbelievable chemistry.
Yeah, right.
You know? So at any rate, with that established, we'll have you back next week.
Okay.
We'll discuss a little bit more about what you're going to do at the performance, or why those songs inspired you, or whatever. And you're going to bring the instruments so that we all get treated to a concert. That's fantastic. Great. Again, the event that we're talking about is on the 27th of February at the Dance Museum in Saratoga. And the Stringendi Trio is going to be performing Beatle songs. All right, we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank
Sound
you
good?
very
Next
much.
week, yes.
Thank you.
To see this interview again, you can head to our website, looktvonline.com.